humanity. This is not just your cycle or my cycle. This is the cycle of human history. And when you start to see that, it can be compelling.
When you,
So I look at it. I look at my own daughter, for example, and I think, by the way, what will be the next generation? When's the cutoff for Z's? We don't know yet, I guess.
we don't know actually. We don't even know when they start. Interestingly enough, you have to wait until the crisis ends. And let me take a good example. 1925 is where the silent generation starts. 1924 is where the GI generation stops. You would not have known that until 1946 when World War II ended. So we have to wait until that final. But right now, we think that the last birth year of millennials is 2004. First birth year of our Homeland generation is 2005. But so Homelander is interesting. And the reason why they named it Homelander is, first of all, because back then, I think we did this poll in 2000, I can't remember, 2010 or something like that. But first of all, remember after 9/11, the Department of Homeland Security, everyone was into Homeland, right? And also this fact that everyone was suddenly into sort of, protecting the home, protecting the community. And then the fact that literally, given these incredibly, compulsively protective Gen Xer parents who swear that they're never going to allow their own kid to be left alone like they were left alone, right? Again, this pattern of overcompensation. These kids are always at home. I mean, they always have someone at home and they never go anywhere. It's amazing. This generation they don't have to go anywhere, for movies, for entertainment,
for food,
for each other, for food, for whatever. So they are literally the most homebound generation. And during the pandemic, it was off the charts, right? So we call them the quarantines, right? Anyway, for a reason. So your question was, so that's when we think they're going to be done. And when with their last cohort, obviously, is going to be determined a little bit by when we determine the prophet, the beginning of the prophet.
That's what I think will be the next prophet generation.
But it's probably going to extend from 2005 to sometime in the late 2020s.
Yeah.
So, and we've talked a little bit about their attributes. Yes. They're going to be very well behaved, by the way. Young artist archetypes, very well behaved, very well socialized. And this is the amazing thing. And I maybe this is one point I should come back to, because I think people find it so counterintuitive that they don't believe it. But if you go back through all of history, going back to the 1500s to like the generation of Erasmus, you think about a very well socialized, a very well educated generation. But these generations of extremely consensus-minded, socialized, educated, erudite, young people who later on, deepen that reputation as they go older, they always were raised by very closed, tight-fisted, pragmatic parents at a time of crisis, right?
Yes.
And similarly, the most pragmatic, survivalist generations were always raised at a time of openness and chaos in their childhood, right? And I think that's what's interesting about that is you can see that they were raised you see that Jungian thing, that idea that who you are is almost the opposite of how you are raised. I think so many Xers today, they're so protective, so hands-on with their parents, and it's so obviously different. And by the way, when I talk to Xers, and I've done this a lot, and I've surveyed them, and I've talked to them, it's not even unconscious. It's conscious. They know they're doing it for that reason. Yes, damn it, I'm never going to have my kid with the way I remember, when I was home alone and stuff. So it's very deliberate, very conscious. And similarly, the silent generation, why did they raise Xers that way?
Yes.
Because of they were raised in a closet, right? Back in the late 1930s, 1940s.
It's also why oftentimes people relate more to their grandparents than their parents.
Yeah, exactly. And you see now they're relating to the similar archetype across the cycle. And that's what's amazing. This is why so many millennials admire their GI generation parents or great-grandparents, because, wow, I recognize something in that, granddad, grandma, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that sense, I think it was Igor Stravinsky who said that. We every generation declares war on its parents and makes friends with its grandparents, and that again, that's looking across the cycle at your archetypal similarity versus your opposite.
So the question is, where are you in the seasons of history? When did you come of age? That 21 to 41 range. So I was born in 1960, right on the cusp. So I can remember somewhere in my psyche that optimism for those first 3 years before Kennedy died. I can remember seeing Kennedy and King and all the absolute unraveling that occurred there. Robert Kennedy dying was part of my youth. And then I came of age in my 21 and 41 during the unraveling, during the fall, right? So inflation exploded, and then all of a sudden the changes that happened in the 80s and the 90s. And so now I'm earning the next stage of my life in middle of halfway through the winter. And, the next section of it, I'll get to see, hopefully, if I live decently, I'll get to see the next springtime, good portion of it. Where are you in your location in history? And how are you going to navigate it? And if you only look at today, you're going to have the wrong view. When I say the wrong view, you'll have an inaccurate view of life. And also, many people want it to be easier. But nothing that's ever come easy has been valued very much in our lives. Your parents tell you that, you never listen to them. But as you get older, you know it. And so these years that'll be challenging over the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years, whatever it really is, challenging financially, challenging in terms of uncertainty, they're also going to make us have to be more nimble, make us grow in ways that you wouldn't have to grow without it. And on the other side of it, you have 10 or 20 or 30 years, whatever it'll be for you, of great deal of optimism. And then what'll happen is there'll be another summer. There'll be another awakening, internal battle. And I don't know how long you're going to live, but it'll be interesting. I think about my daughter and think about what she'll go into. She's going to, be a child during the crisis, at least half of it. She'll come of age in this beautiful springtime. She'll participate probably in the next summer. And if she's lucky, she'll make it in the fall. Maybe she has a long life. Maybe she'll make it to the next winter and take what she learns from that. There's a beauty in understanding life from a different perspective than just how you're looking at it right now. And that beauty you brought to all of us today.
Tony, let me just maybe a couple of closing things.
Please.
It's important. People often, they listen to me and they will say, Neil, this just sounds so terrible. You're telling us about all these things, how fourth turnings usually end, where they usually go. I mean, we're talking about war after all. We're talking about conflict. We're talking about additional, economic times of economic financial duress. And